Yeah, well, I just wanted to talk about Joe because I'm really concerned about Joe because we've had this relationship for a long time, quite a while now, and he's just not motivated. And he's smart. He's got some good qualifications. He's got a lot of skills, and yet he's still sort of not employed. I'm just really frustrated because he's got such a lot going for him, and and I just don't know how to get him motivated.
So, I guess what strikes me about what you're saying is it sounds like you have a real investment and a sort of a deep appreciation of what you see the possibilities to be.
Oh, absolutely, and as I've got to know Joe more, I've realised what a depth of life experience he has. I had no idea when I just first met him.
So you really, as you got to know more about his qualifications, you saw him as this really capable person.
Absolutely, and and in the Peer Centre, he's been. He's done some extraordinary things. I mean, he's really good with computers, and he's. But he's just not motivated to get a job, and I'm feeling really frustrated. And we talk about this, regularly, and and he sort of sees it as one of his goals, and yet he's just not doing anything about it.
I guess what this reminds me of, Chris, and I'll just share my own experience with a situation that I guess feels a little close to the bone for me. So please feel free to jump in. But I can remember a time in my life when people didn't have high expectations of me because they didn't really know me, or they saw me as a mental patient or whatever. And then it was really interesting because as people found out that I had advanced degrees and that that I really liked academia and stuff like that, I felt like all of a sudden they became sort of disappointed in me. And it felt like, for me at least, that the only thing that mattered to them about me was my credentials. And so what I felt like I was doing at the time was surviving some really challenging stuff and actually just staying alive. So it felt like their motivations were sort of centered around their ideas of what I was capable of. And because of that, I felt like a constant disappointment. And so I just sort of backed away. So I don't know if that's relevant to your experience. But
I mean, he keeps saying he wants a job.
And again, I'll just sort of take off from my own experience. But I guess when people sort of expected a lot from me, I'd say things like, I really want to get a job, because it sort of got them off my back. And I thought it was what they wanted to hear, and I didn't want to lose the relationships that I did have. So, and it may be different with you, I don't know.
Well, no, thank you for sharing that, because I've suddenly realised that I sort of grew up in this family and culture where academic achievement and and social status was really, really important, and I guess I'm just starting to see that I've kind of projected that in my work in the Peer Centre. I'm just realising that I've had these expectations of Joe and what success should look like for him, but it's been really from my own I've been kind of projecting that onto him, I guess, since I found out, what his background was.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, and I guess always looking at our motivations is something that sort of keeps me honest.
And I think probably what I've just forgotten to do is just acknowledge what he has been doing, which I know has been pushing his comfort zone in terms of some of the
just being curious about how he understands his own situation. That's
very helpful. So how did you? I mean, can you tell me a little bit of the rest of the story? Because I want.
Yeah, I think when I got honest, I mean, I sort of. Some of the people I really had a pretty close connection with. So I was able to say, look, when you tell me that I should go out and get a job or go back to school or whatever, I feel sort of unseen, and I feel like all you care about is my education. And I guess I was close enough to them so that they could hear that, and we sort of, in some ways, it kind of deepened the relationship because they could see, well, very much like you were just saying, like they could see their own agenda. And so I wonder if you don't want to have the same conversation with Joe about what you see now has been going on. And so I don't know if that would be useful or not, but you could give it a try.
Yeah, and thank you for sort of sharing your own sort of story, because it's I guess it's helped me to sort of understand where you're coming from,